Isaac sat with his group of friends by the bonfire. "Hey, have you heard the details behind the death of the group of students a few years back?" In unison, the group said, "No." "Well then, gather around and I will tell you what I've heard from my brother. From what he told me, they called the cursed number, and shortly thereafter, all were found dead, one by one. Each one of the students' brains liquefied and blood coming out of their eyes and ears." One of the people in the group laughs, and Isaac stops the story to look at who just laughed at him. He locks eyes with Alexander. "Oh, you think this is a joke or something, Alex?" "First, it's Alexander and not Alex. And yes, I think this is a joke. Clearly, cursed numbers are just a load of shit. None of them work. And yes, we all know about this group of students dying, but more than likely, it was just due to them all overdosing. On top of that, if this number is what killed them, where did you get it from?" Where was I before I was so rudely interrupted? The strange part is that they all died in the exact same ways, days apart from one another. The tox report came back saying there were no known drugs in their systems, and as for where I got the number, my brother got it from my father's office, who just so happens to be a cop, which I damn well know. But if you're so brave, Alex, why don't you call the number?" The group laughed at Alexander, who looks at everyone and says, "Oh, fuck you guys, I'm out of here." He got up and left, hearing Isaac calling after him. "Looks like the baby is crawling back home to his mommy." Alexander doesn't even spare him a glance, and he just shoots him the finger as he walks away. After having their laugh at Alexander's expense, Isaac extinguished the bonfire and the group headed into their tents for the evening. The next morning, as the sun started to rise, the group woke up and dismantled their tents. One of the people in the group spoke up. "We should do it." Isaac, taken aback and forgetting the last night's story, asked, "Do what?" Ben spoke up. "We should call the number." "Oh, you really want to call that number? You don't actually believe that number is what killed them, do you?" "I don't know, but it couldn't hurt to call the number, could it?" "If you're not going to do it, then I'll do it myself." "Fine. Do what you want. Here's the number." Handing the piece of paper over, Ben pulled out his cell phone and dialed the number. As his phone begins to ring, he taps the speakerphone button. Shortly after, an eerie music plays through the speaker. It sounds like bagpipes, but distorted, and the sound was high-pitched and hurt their ears. Ben quickly ends the call, and seconds later, everyone's phone began to ring with an unknown number. None of them answered their phones, yet still, the distorted tune of the bagpipes played regardless. And just as soon as it started, it stopped. "Oh, what was that?" Looking over at Ben. "How did you do that?" "Do what?" shouts Ben. "Make that number call our phones like that." Ben shakes his head in protest. "It wasn't me. I'm not sure what happened." "Yeah, right. Let's finish packing up. The lot of you get lost. I want to enjoy the rest of my weekend before I have to go back to school." As the kids departed, Isaac goes inside, heading straight to his brother's room. "Hey, get out of my room," his older brother said. Isaac states, I need to talk to you. Have you ever called the number you gave me? What? No, why would I? Everyone knows that they are just made up by people that have too much time on their hands. Isaac looks at his brother with concern in his voice. Well, Ben called the number, and when he did, some strange music played through his phone, and once he ended the call, an unknown number called all of our phones playing the same tone. Dude, it was probably your little friend. He called all of you at the same time and went into his settings, shutting off his caller ID. Isaac shouts, "Well, how do you explain the creepy tone?" He used a playback tone and you all just thought it was coming from your phones when it was coming from his. That clever bastard! He pranked us all and we fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker. Well, if he thinks he's going to get away with this, he has another thing coming, Isaac stated aloud. The next day at school, Isaac met up with his group of friends, noticing Ben was not there. Hey, do you all know where Ben is? I have a bone to pick with him. His friends look at him and say, I don't think he is here today. Or when the bus stopped to pick him up, he wasn't there. More like he's just hiding after the shit he pulled yesterday. Once I get a hold of him, I'm going to teach him a lesson or two. As if on cue, the loudspeaker sounds off. All students need to make their way to the gymnasium for an emergency assembly. All students need to make their way to the gymnasium for an emergency assembly. The group looks at each other, wondering what's going on, but follows the rest of their classmates to the gym without complaint. Once seated, Isaac noticed that standing beside the principal was his father. Dude, what's your dad doing here? One friend questions. His friend said, Ooh, looks like you're in trouble, bro. What did you do? I didn't do anything. Now shut up and listen. I'm sure we will find out what's going on if you're just patient. And as he said this, the principal began to speak. Students, it is my unfortunate responsibility to inform you that at some point in the evening, Ben Ashmore passed away. With me, I have Officer Flanagan. He will tell you kids what happened, and if you have any questions, everyone at school will be made available to answer them. Officer Flanagan begins to speak. At some point last night, it appears that Ben had a stroke of some kind. When his mother found him, he was laying on the ground. He had blood coming from his eyes and ears, which is what is leading us to believe he died from a stroke. Any questions should be directed to your school staff or parents. We cannot disclose any more details of his death due to this being an open investigation. After the assembly was over, Isaac found his friends. After school, we need to meet up and discuss what happened, he said. School passed by quickly, and before he knew it, he was home. Shortly after, his friends arrived at his house. Follow me, Isaac says as he rushes into the house and then into his father's office. What are we doing here? His friends protest. This is your father's office. If we get caught here, we're dead. Listen, Jenna and Frank, Ben is dead. I want to know how he died. They did not push him further, but followed in silence. They both were still hurting from the loss of their friend and wanted to know what happened as much as Isaac did. Once they got into the office, Isaac picked the lock to his father's filing cabinet, quickly finding Ben's file. His dad filed everything in alphabetical order, He had always been very organized. And Isaac read the report out loud. On the 30th of April, Ben Ashmore was found dead in his bedroom. At first glance, it appeared he had passed from a stroke, but upon getting him to the medical examiner, it was discovered that his brain was turned liquid, which caused the bleeding from the eyes and his ears. One other detail really stuck out, like all the others that have died in this manner, is that there was a burn on his ear. It was like the speaker of their phone blew out and burnt them. Questioning them, Isaac said, "You guys know this is strange, but it reminds me of another incident that happened not too long ago. You all remember Jack and James that moved away last school year, right?" Without hesitation, Frank said, "Yeah, I didn't know them well, but I saw them around. What about them?" "Well, I got a call from Jack. His brother and father went missing, along with a lot of other dudes. He says a creature took them. It was weird, and what's going on seems like it could be a similar event," Isaac claims. Jenna and Frank laugh at him. "You're joking, right? Nothing is going on, buddy. He had a stroke. You heard your dad. Man, get some rest, please. You're worrying us. Jenna and I are going to my house. You want to come?" Frank asked. No, man. I'm going to just relax and try to get my head straight. You're right. I must be going crazy. You guys take it easy. Call me later, okay?" Frank and Jenna left his house. Upon arriving at Frank's house, they rush up to his room. They turn music on and start to make out. They had other stuff on their mind, but figured this would be a welcome distraction. As they get lost in each other's company, the music stops and Frank's phone starts to ring. Annoyed, he grabs his cell phone and answers it. "Hello? This better be good." No one was on the other end, but both of them heard a faint sound coming from the Bluetooth speakers where the music was coming from. Both of them slowly walked up to the speakers. The sound grew louder and louder. It was the distorted bagpipe music they heard days earlier. Once they got right in front of the speakers, as if on cue, a scream came through the speakers. The sound grew louder and louder until the speakers couldn't handle it any longer. They blew, launching sparks into their faces, burning them badly. However, the scream did not fade until the last sparks of life left them and blood was leaking from their ears and eyes. Isaac thought it was strange that he hadn't heard from his friends for hours. So, he gave them a call. The call went straight to voicemail, so he called the landline of Frank's parents. "What dinosaurs?" he said to himself. After a few rings, Frank's mother answered the call. When he asked where Frank was, his mother once again broke into sobs, telling him about the freak accident. But at this point, all Isaac could think of was that he was next and that he needed to find a way to stop whatever creature this was. He used the information Frank's mother had given him and what he already knew, typing keywords into the search engine. When he did this, many results came up. However, one stuck out. He couldn't believe it, but deep inside himself, he knew what he was facing. It was a banshee, which he always thought was a myth, but now it was his reality. He did not sleep that night because he was too scared. He was next, and the banshee would come for him in his sleep. Making it through the night, He sought out Alexander, hoping he could help. In a panic, Isaac grabbed Alexander and told him everything about the deaths of their friends. After hearing his story, Alexander replied with, "What horseshit is this? Are you trying to prank me again?" "No, man. Seriously, when you left the next day, Ben called the number, and a creepy, distorted tone of bagpipes played. From what Frank's mother told me, she heard that music in a loud shriek before running into his room and finding him and Jenna dead on the floor, just a day after Ben was found dead." Just as he finished, his phone rang. "I'm not gonna answer it. If I ignore it, it will go away. It will be okay." Laughing at Isaac's fear, "Are you for real, dude? Just answer your phone." "No!" he shouts. The next thing Isaac knew, Alexander grabbed his phone. "Dude, it's just your mom." Please, Alex, don't answer the phone." "It's Alexander. And it's just your mom." Alexander answers the phone and gives it to Isaac. "Hello, Mom? Is that you?" The tune he described earlier could be heard playing as a shriek came from the phone, which grew louder and louder. Alexander went to ask him what was happening, but Isaac was already on the floor convulsing, with blood pouring from his ears and eyes. The phone overheated and shut down, leaving a burn on Isaac's lifeless body. Just as he was starting to understand what happened, and he started to go for help, before he could get too far, his phone started to ring too. Hi everybody, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for listening and watching the video. I really do hope that you enjoyed it. Anyway, if you want to send a story for me to read, or if you want to follow me on social media, my email and all the other links to my account are in the description of the video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't yet to the channel. Once again, thanks for listening.